Let me start by saying something that I hope will settle your nerves right from the beginning. If you are a United States citizen, a lawful permanent resident, or someone who has been waiting patiently for your green card or adjustment of status decision, I want you to take a deep breath. I know that over the past few days, you may have seen headlines, social media posts, and maybe even messages from friends or family members talking about a new executive order. Something with a number attached to it, Executive Order 14385, and words like mandatory criminal vetting for all immigrants. Those words can sound intimidating, especially when you see them in all capital letters or paired with alarming predictions. My goal today is not to scare you. My goal is not to tell you that the sky is falling or that everything has changed overnight. My goal is to explain this calmly, truthfully, and in a way that respects both the law and your peace of mind. Before we go any further, I do want to offer a gentle reminder that what I am sharing with you today is for informational and educational purposes. This is not official legal advice tailored to your specific situation. If you have concerns about your own case, your own application, or your own immigration status, I always encourage you to speak with a qualified immigration attorney who can review your individual circumstances. But what I can do here, right now, is help you understand what is actually happening, separate the noise from the reality, and give you a clearer picture of what this executive order does and does not mean for you. So let us talk about Executive Order 14385. The title mentions mandatory criminal vetting for all immigrants, and that phrase alone has caused a lot of confusion and, frankly, a lot of fear. But when we look at what is actually written in the order and how the immigration system already works, we start to see that this is not the sudden earthquake that some corners of the internet are making it out to be. In fact, in most cases, what this order does is formalize and reinforce procedures that have already been part of the immigration process for many years. Let me explain what I mean by that. The United States immigration system has always required background checks and security vetting for people who are applying for visas, green cards, asylum, and other immigration benefits. This is not new. When you submit your application to USCIS, when you go for your biometrics appointment, when you attend your interview, part of what is happening behind the scenes is that your fingerprints are being run through FBI databases, your name is being checked against national security watch lists, and your background is being reviewed to make sure that you do not have a criminal history that would make you inadmissible or removable under U.S. immigration law. This has been standard practice for decades. It is part of the reason why the process takes so long. It is part of the reason why some people wait months or even years for a decision. The system is slow and it is thorough and it is structured and it has always included criminal vetting. What Executive Order 14385 appears to do is emphasize and perhaps expand the scope of that vetting in certain contexts. It may direct agencies to coordinate more closely, to share information more efficiently, or to apply additional scrutiny in cases where there are concerns about public safety or national security. But for the vast majority of people watching this video, people who have clean records, people who have been honest on their applications, people who have followed the rules and are simply waiting for the government to process their paperwork, this order does not change the fundamental nature of your case. It does not mean that your application is suddenly going to be denied. It does not mean that you are now subject to some new and impossible standard that did not exist before. What it means is that the government is continuing to do what it has always done, which is to make sure that the people it admits into the country, or the people it grants permanent residence to, do not pose a threat to public safety. Now I want to take a moment to address the fear that I know many of you are feeling. I have been working in this field for a long time, and I have seen how quickly misinformation can spread, especially when people are already anxious about their immigration status. Someone posts a headline with no context. Someone else shares it with a comment like "this is the end" or "they are coming after everyone." And before you know it, people who have done nothing wrong, people who have been waiting patiently and honestly, are terrified that their entire future is in jeopardy. So let me be very clear. This executive order is not a blanket denial of all pending applications. It is not a secret plan to deport everyone who is waiting for a green card. It is not a new rule that says anyone with any interaction with law enforcement, no matter how minor, is automatically disqualified. That is not how the system works, and that is not what this order says. What we need to understand is the difference between delays and denials. The immigration system is notoriously slow. USCIS is backlogged, processing times are long. Some people wait 6 months, some wait a year, some wait even longer. And during that time, it can feel like nothing is happening. You check your case status online, and it says the same thing it said 3 months ago. You do not get any updates, you do not get any calls, and in that silence, it is easy to imagine the worst. But in most cases, that silence does not mean something bad is happening. It means the government is working through a massive queue of applications, and yours is somewhere in that queue. The criminal vetting that is required under this order, just like the criminal vetting that was required before this order, takes time. The FBI has to process fingerprints, databases have to be checked, information has to be verified, and all of that happens in the background while you wait. For the majority of you watching this video, the outcome of your case is not going to be determined by this executive order. It is going to be determined by the same factors that have always mattered. Did you enter the country legally, or do you qualify for an exception? Do you have a qualifying family relationship or employment petition? Have you maintained lawful status? Do you have a criminal record that would make you inadmissible? These are the questions that matter. These are the questions that immigration officers ask when they review your file. And if the answers to those questions are in your favor, if you have been honest, if you have followed the process, if you do not have serious criminal issues in your past, then there is no reason to believe that this executive order is going to derail your case. Now let me talk about the people who might be affected. There are certain categories of applicants who could face additional scrutiny under an order like this. If you have a criminal history, particularly if you have been convicted of crimes involving violence, drugs, fraud, or other serious offenses, then yes, the government is going to look at that more carefully. If you have had interactions with law enforcement that resulted in arrests or charges, even if those charges were eventually dropped or dismissed, the government may still want to review the details. If you have traveled to certain countries or have associations that raise national security concerns, that could also trigger additional vetting. But even in those cases, additional vetting does not automatically mean denial. It means the government is going to take a closer look. It means your case might take longer. It means you might be asked to provide additional documents or attend an additional interview. But it does not mean the door is closed. The immigration system is built on the principle of due process. You have the right to present your case. You have the right to explain your circumstances. You have the right to show that you qualify for the benefit you are seeking. And that right does not disappear because of an executive order. So what should you do if you are waiting for a decision right now? First, take a breath. I know that is easier said than done, but I want you to resist the urge to panic every time you see a new headline. The immigration system moves slowly, and it always has. Second, make sure that your case is as strong and as organized as possible. If you have not already done so, gather all of your documents, make copies of everything. Keep a file with your receipts, your notices, your correspondence with USCIS. If you have an attorney, stay in touch with them. If you do not have an attorney, consider whether it might be worth consulting with one, especially if your case is complicated or if you have any concerns about your eligibility. Third, be patient. I know that waiting is hard. I know that not knowing is stressful. But the reality is that most people who are waiting for green cards or other immigration benefits are going to continue waiting for some time, and that is normal. That is not a sign that something is wrong. That is just how the system works. I also want to normalize something that I think causes a lot of unnecessary anxiety, and that is the silence from USCIS. It is very common for people to submit their applications and then hear nothing for months. No updates, no requests for evidence, no interview scheduled, just silence, and I understand why that is frustrating. But in most cases, silence does not mean your case has been forgotten or that something terrible is happening behind the scenes. It means your case is in the queue. It means the background checks are being processed. It means the system is working, even if it is working slowly. So if you have not heard anything in a while, that does not mean you need to panic. It means you need to keep waiting. And I know that is not the answer anyone wants to hear, but it is the honest answer. Let me also address the emotional side of this, because I think that is just as important as the legal side. The immigration journey is exhausting. It is stressful. It is filled with uncertainty and waiting and fear and hope, all mixed together. And when you see headlines like the one that brought you to this video, It is natural to feel scared. It is natural to wonder if everything you have worked for is about to fall apart. But I want you to know that you are not alone. Millions of people are going through this same process. Millions of people are waiting for the same decisions, and the vast majority of them are going to get through this just fine. The system is slow, but it is also structured. It is not random. It is not chaotic. It is built on laws and regulations and procedures, and those things do not change overnight because of one executive order. So here is the truth as I understand it. Executive Order 14385 reinforces and possibly expands the criminal vetting that has always been part of the immigration process. For most people, this does not change anything about your case. If you have been honest, if you have followed the rules, if you do not have serious criminal issues in your background, then you should continue to move forward with confidence. If you do have concerns about your case, if you do have a criminal history or other complicating factors, then I encourage you to speak with an attorney who can help you understand your options. But for the majority of you watching, the best thing you can do is stay patient, stay organized, and trust that the process, as slow and frustrating as it is still working. I hope this has given you some clarity and some peace of mind. I know the immigration system can feel overwhelming, and I know it is hard to separate the truth from the noise, especially when there is so much fear and misinformation floating around. But that is why I am here. That is why I make these videos. Because I believe you deserve to understand what is really happening, not just what the headlines say. If you found this helpful, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Share your thoughts, share your experiences, and if you have questions, I will do my best to point you in the right direction. Thank you for watching, and please take care of yourself.